Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins here. We got a special report for you tonight. NASA has a lot of explaining to do. Let me tell you, these guys are paid by us, the US citizens, but right now they're admitting that they're keeping secrets from the public. And this is quite incredible because aren't they supposed to be transparent? Again, we are the taxpayers, but right now the James Webb is set to target specific spots in our universe. But right now these targets, quote, have been chosen for super secret first images that will be released. But Jane Rigby, the James Webb Space Telescope Operations Project scientist at NASA, said that during the news conference held earlier this month that, however, these early targets of the observatory are public knowledge. During the news conference, Rigby confirmed that the Webb's first year of science observations are already finalized. So they already have their targets finalized. So this is important, but apparently these selected targets will not be shown to the public at this moment. They're keeping it top secret. And this is coming in from Rigby over there at Webb. So let me ask you, if they're choosing these targets and they're not telling us where exactly these targets are, and they're admittingly telling us that they're not going to tell us what they may find, this is kind of mind-boggling. And that's why we have this panel discussion tonight. We have Richard Giordano from GUFON, including Michael Rozier from Dark Hour Paranormal, and we're going to discuss the implications behind the secrecy of NASA themselves admitting that they're not going to be releasing the information behind their first targets. This is supposed to be the most groundbreaking machine that has ever been designed by humans. It cost $15 billion. And it was supposed to be exciting for us as the public, as they're going to venture out into the universe and reveal secrets that we've never seen or could ever imagine. But right now they're keeping secrets. Pretty much NASA never a straight answer. So let's start it off right now. We've got GUFON with us. You heard about this news. You know, it's been around for a day or so, but after thinking about the bigger picture, what's your speculation on why NASA would keep this a secret from humans or some public? At least the public should know. What's your thoughts on that generally?
Well, why would we expect anything less from NASA? That's the question. They've always done this. They've always said, we're going to show you this, we're going to show you that. I remember with Hubble, they were going to show us all this stuff, and we never got to see it until they analyzed it. And who knows if what they doctored up and changed on it. But this is a little different, being that this was supposed to be all transparent, I thought. And not only did we wait 20 years for this telescope to be put out with several delays, it's now making it a more frustrating adventure for me, especially since they were supposed to show us everything. So is this shocking news? Not really, but it is shocking after what they said this whole James Webb thing was going to be about. We're going to show you everything. We have targets we're already planned on seeing, and we're going to be transparent with the public. And now they're not. So does that shock me? No. Am I surprised? A little bit, but it's nothing we should be upset about because they're protecting us. Remember that. This is all about protecting us from whatever's billions of light years away or millions or whatever. They're doing something here that I think is more nefarious than we would ever imagine. So are they pointing the camera somewhere else that we haven't thought of? Maybe back at Earth. I don't know if it could focus that close, or maybe something on Mars, maybe something on Pluto. Who knows? But whatever it is, it's going to be groundbreaking, I bet, and we'll never see it.
You know, well said there, Rich. Exactly. You know, it's interesting too, because there's scientists across the planet right now, and you basically have to stand in line for the project that you want to accomplish as a scientist. So there, you kind of have a raffle, or there's a schedule for how they're going to roll this operation of the James Webb and utilize it in a way to go on these projects these individuals want, universities. So there's kind of a roster and there's a lineup. So people are waiting to start targeting special places for whatever reason. But it's interesting that, again, that apparently these targets in the future are public, but the first targets are being in a way top secret, as they basically say that they're not going to let us know. Why not just let us know what the first target is? What are they trying to hide? Like Rich says, I think tongue in cheek, that they're trying to protect us from something that we can't handle the truth. Your thoughts, Michael?
Hearing this news that there was some sort of decision made not to divulge the targets or even what may be seen on these targets is incredibly disheartening, very much for the reason both of you have already mentioned, and that is this is supposed to be a very transparent endeavor. One of the things that was often spoke about when bringing up the James Webb Telescope was that this was humanity's next big move off into this final frontier. If it was to benefit all of humanity when we had that narrative, fine and dandy, but unfortunately it looks like it's only going to, at least immediately, temper the very few. And this is unfortunately a pattern we have seen so many times with these organizations who do have the control and technology to propel themselves into areas the common man cannot. So, when we look at James Webb Telescope and this decision that's being made, it really breaks my heart, and even worse, lends a bit of distrust, because this was sort of the worst fear. You're supposed to be this endeavor of the people, and yet as soon as you get out there, everything gets hushed up and covered as if it's some sort of secret that needs to stay nebulous. It's really a bad thing, I think, in way of what we're looking at image-wise. And moving forward, it's nice to have the promise that these targets may be identified later in the future. But, we don't really know what they're doing with them prior to, or if we're going to actually hear about the actual targets that they're using. They very well could use some sort of stand-in at that point in time.
Absolutely. It's kind of, again, disheartening that we spent all this money and they built up this excitement around the whole thing, and everybody's waiting for these images to come out. And the first targets, they're not telling us what kind of target they're specifying, what's their reasoning behind these certain targets, and the secrecy behind it is, again, very curious, especially at this time when we have this paperwork being redacted from the Congress, and these FOIA requests, and seeing this being redacted so harshly. I'm just wondering if the Galileo project will be so going down, if they go down this road, because the Galileo project, from what we know and from the sources that work inside there, say that they want to be as transparent as possible. The whole idea when we interviewed Avi that everything was going to be transparent. But man, could you imagine if Avi goes down this road? Is there going to be a trust factor with them as well as NASA? And we might have to have some issues with the Galileo if they pull these kind of tricks about saying they're not going to tell us top secret. They're going to keep it a secret as well. It'd be disheartening if Galileo goes down this road.
They will. I obviously, I say that obviously, it's not obvious to some people, but with certain people now being a part of that Galileo project, I'm worried that Avi Loeb and the rest of them are going to be told not to release certain information, certain photos, certain things, whatever they capture. And if they capture anything, but it scares me because there's people that are in the organization that were once part of the government, still are, and now they're part of the People's Project. The Galileo Project is what I like to call it, the People's Project, because that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be transparent, and it's supposed to be, they're going to find something, and then they're going to verify it with other sources, and then they're going to, disseminate it to the public. Well, I don't think so. I think he's going to go down the same road that all astronomers have gone down before, and the government's going to silence it if they find anything that's worthy of silencing them on. Like, what could they find? Will they find an alien craft, an alien civilization looking back at us? Who knows? But if that's the case and they find something like that, there's no way they're going to let us know. So I think that's the fear I have with the Galileo projects, that they have people in the organization that were probably still working with our government. And the government, I mean, we're seeing it now with the James Webb telescope. It's sad.
I have to agree with you, Rich. And keeping this in mind, everything that you just mentioned, if someone were to have the desire to extend themselves out into deep space, of course, they'd have to build something in way of a very expensive vessel, which, James Webb Telescope allegedly is just that. Within this, it's not necessarily something very easy to keep from the public eye, although there have been many missions that have not been reported to the public that NASA has undergone, as well as other countries. So to a certain degree, they can do this. Long story short is that this may be an attempt to just get that probe out as far as possible with the consensus and consent behind them in way of the public view. So we all rally behind them, we get excited, we bounce back and forth within that narrative, and sure enough, they bring this thing out into deep space. But at that point, it's already out there. And it doesn't really matter what anybody says. They can go ahead and do whatever they'd like to. So when you talk about the Galileo project possibly going down the same avenue, Rich, I have to say that is a very strong concern, and something that we'll have to monitor as closely as we can, knowing that we only have so much control over those decisions made by such large bodies of organizations, including some of these really incredible minds that are at the forefront of certain technologies, governmental agencies, and so forth. And not necessarily all of them have the best intentions. I'm sure there may be some rough within that endeavor that they're working towards, but as a public endeavor, that this is supposed to be the transparency that we've always asked for. Again, Rich, I have to agree with you that we really hope to see that the Galileo project will not follow the same path. And with that same breath of the word, I hope that as we move forward with the James Webb Telescope and enough people talk about this sort of behavior, to some degree that can be absolved too.
I just want to add one more thing about NASA. We pay them to be transparent, but we also pay them to keep us safe and to keep interesting and certain things that could be world changing to themselves. I mean, we pay them to get secrets. We pay them to do that. Whether you like to hear it or not, that's part of what we do. As a government, we protect the people from what they think. I mean, and who are they to tell us what they should hide? I know, I get it, but that's the way it is. That's the way it's going to be. And we pay them to do all this stuff. So we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't.
So that was kind of going to bring up my next question to everybody is, so they've got these targets. Now let's speculate what could be so secretive, top secret, that they don't want us to see at this moment, because obviously they're emitting it. So it must be something that is on a national security level. So is it in regards to a possible asteroid? Because they are saying that they're going to be tracking these signatures or things that celestial objects like the Oumuamua. If it ever comes back, they're going to be able to track it and really get a good shot this time. So could there be some kind of celestial object coming in our solar system again, and they're not telling us? Or are they going to be zooming in on maybe a planetary system that shows maybe some kind of evidence of possible intelligence, like satellites could be around these planets that seem that they're performing in ways that are in intelligent way? Again, just speculating. What would you think that is their most major priority right now in regards to their first target? Michael?
I think they're going to tell us that they're looking for things under the scientific umbrella, and perhaps to a very certain extent that's true. Of course, they did tell us that the possibility of finding some other form of life was out there, and of course different galaxies that harbor certain characteristics that we could define as a possible haven for life may also be captured. I think in essence what they're going to be doing is getting that original target and, capturing whatever they see in there, whether it be some sort of satellite, whether it be some sort of space debris or asteroid that may be, significant in way of our population, they're going to look at that, assess what they see, and then I think, like NASA has done in the past, filter out what they don't want us to see and just give us the rest. Now, I, of course, went into this following James Webb and all of this that had come to pass with the idea that they would keep that transparency and that we wouldn't have to go down this route. But, of course, with their current decision, we certainly have to question that. Now, again, what kind of threat does an asteroid so far out in our galaxy really pose to us? I don't think it's something that immediate. I think that there can be implications taken from what they capture that have much larger ideas and notions that need to be explored to explain what we're seeing in way of their capture, but only time will tell.
Do you think it's possible that there might be something within our solar system at the moment that they might want to target right away? A possible visitation, interstellar craft? Gufan, go ahead.
Well, I mean, there's talk of the I can't remember the name. What is it? The Federation something? What is that?
Galactic Federation.
The Galactic Federation. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, makes you wonder if they're actually going to spot them, and maybe they've got the location of the Galactic Federation ship that's been hanging out in our solar system, or, like I said earlier, maybe it has something to do with Mars, or maybe there's a monolith they found somewhere on one of the moons of Mars, or maybe the moon itself. It could be a lot of different things, the asteroid thing really makes sense. If they found an asteroid that's coming this way, that's the size of Mount Everest, we're all in trouble. But they don't have to be, I don't know, man. How would they know where it's coming from? You know what I mean? That is, you know what I mean? If they have this out there and they say it's coming this way, well, I think they need to let us know about that. If it's something like a doomsday mountain coming this way.
Yeah, basically, it's interesting because why be so secretive? The whole point is of the James Webb is to, look at the universe itself and basically other planets or gases that are coming off planets, mundane stuff, just to see if there's ask bigger questions, just basically mundane science. But they've been talking about this for 30 years. I think they've been building this thing, the objective of the James Webb. And then right off the bat, the first targets, it doesn't seem so mundane. They're going for something that is above or seems to be top secret. They are a government agency, and they're not telling us exactly their first targets and the agenda behind it. And again, that is just very suspicious, and NASA and James Webb should get away from this kind of language and just be transparent with the public. And I'm hoping, again, the Galileo project takes these notes from what NASA's been doing all these years and understand they've gone about it the wrong way, and they could develop a different way to be totally transparent in the public view and the opinion.
If for some reason they find something at the home base of the Galileo project, that might be able to be put into secrecy a little easier than if one of their other telescopes finds it. And I don't know how they would be able to keep it a secret from the public once another telescope out there sees it. So, they do run the risk of that. But with the James Webb, that's NASA. They run the show, and that's that. And they get the final word.
Absolutely. But then if it is a digital transfer of information coming from one telescope to another via the Galileo project, and they start transmitting that information, this digital information could still be intercepted through hacks or any other kind of way of harnessing that, and possibly not it being able to deliver the data to the certain location where it needs to be analyzed. I'm just saying there is an operation where they can intercept digital transfer of information before it gets to where it needs to get. So there could be an isolated telescope that captures something amazing, but then when they transfer that, then it's intercepted by the higher beings to suppress it. But hopefully, again, it should be as liquid and transparent as possible, so that these kind of intercepts aren't possible. That's the whole thing about being transparent and getting it out as fast as possible without holding secrets, because once you get it out, you got to get it out in real time, is what I'm saying. And there's people that are holding on to information in UFO videos for some reason, and they want to set a date and they want to hold on to these videos for months at a time and not disseminating it to the public as fast as possible. Your thoughts on that, Michael?
Well, that sets us back in years here. I mean, just the way that certain technology is probably apparent within the military. I mean, it's been said something around 80 to 100 years the public is behind in way of what they have. So, when you hold on to some of these videos and evidence, and of course, this does apply to the James Webb Telescope as we're talking about it, we're falling behind very quickly, not necessarily in the current day. So it could be something as simple in way of example that, extraterrestrials land here tomorrow, expecting us all to be up to snuff and speed, realizing that the small faction of the governments that they gave information to disseminate did nothing of the sort. And so if we're sitting here with these old videos, like, the Bigfoot videos that we go over time and time again, analyzed up and down backwards, but still we're not in the current day and age. And again, this is not good for the progression of humanity, and again is sort of breaking that promise, taking our trust and throwing it to the curb when it comes to watching them go through these endeavors. And when you talk about intercepting some of these signals, certainly with the multitude of telescopes and different satellites that are up there in space and will be there in the near future, there is always this possibility. But we shouldn't have to sit here and hope for something along those lines, happen chance to catch some of these sightings and understand the information and data that's being returned to our stations here from our telescopes and satellites. We should be, again, on that air of transparency, the way that we were promised. And until one of these factions actually lives up to that promise, I'm still going to be taking the seat of deep-seated frustration, along with many others in these fields, including the scientific field, and just holding our breath to see what comes next.
That's for sure. And people aren't going to be having to hold their breath for too much longer in regards to the Above Top Secret documentary coming out April 5th, 2022. It's going to be available on all streaming services, and Dr. Greer and Michael Schratt, Jim Goodall, including Billy Carson. It's a wild ride. And the FBI, X-Men, John D'Souza. Wow, it's an all-star cast, and there's so much information that's going to be dropping. We can't wait for that. So right after we get off with you guys, we're really excited, but we're going to be sharing the trailer right after this. But before we get to that, I wanted to thank Dark Hour Paranormal and GoofOn for joining us in this wee hours to talk about this discussion in regards to the cover-up of the James Webb and their secrecy in regards to their first targets. And it's just, again, disconcerting, but again, like Rich said, typical NASA, never a straight answer. What's happening with you over there at GoofOn? You got any thing coming up on your show? Any hot topics?
No, not really. I mean, it's just, business as usual, just doing the same thing every night, just talking about up to the minute UFO reports and videos coming out on Third Phase of Moon and whatnot. So yeah, just business as usual.
There you go, everybody. Take a look at GoofOn. The link will be below. His channel's growing, and he's doing good work over there. And let's get him up to 10,000 subscribers. And it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of opinions in this field in regards to the phenomenon, and nobody's ever right until we for sure have a UFO in our possession that we could actually tangibly possess, touch, analyze, all that good stuff. Michael, what do you got over there at Dark Hour Paranormal? I know you went on a hunt recently, maybe just within the past 24 hours, looking for the activity, the residuals of the paranormal over there in your area in Boston.
Indeed, indeed. We're always moving in a very progressive fashion over at Dark Hour Paranormal, whether we're doing interviews, mini documentaries, or full-length features, along, of course, with affiliating and working with many other incredible minds. This week, I do have on Tuesday an outfit by the name of Dark Hour Paranormal Society, which seemingly we share a similar moniker. They've been around since 2001 as an investigation team of the paranormal. Be very interesting to have him. I'm really looking forward to Wednesday, where I'm going to speak with an old friend of mine who accompanied me to a graveyard where I ended up catching the second negative non-human entity attachment that I have experienced in my life. And we're going to go through that history, the story that is encompassed within that graveyard, and how it might be that I picked up this odd energy that followed me home for 3 months and wreaked havoc on my life. So folks, keep your eyes out. Things are coming.
That's entities following you home, and you're having to deal with this for 3 months, being accosted by a poltergeist. You can count me out in that regards, but that sounds pretty crazy. Everybody, Dark Hour Paranormal, check out his channel, the links below as well. Appreciate it, guys. Good discussion. The James Webb, their project, again, hopefully they get more transparent in the future. We should demand it. Everybody, keep your eyes on the skies. Be safe out there. Blake Cousins, here's the trailer for Above Top Secret, coming out April 5th, 2022, available on all streaming platforms. The link again in the description. We'll see you next time.
If the crash retrievals are true, then all bets are off.
It's very hard for people to get their minds around where the real power is. And it's not at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The reality is something much more stark.
They've been working on this for 60, 70, perhaps 80 years.
The reason why the government is talking about these UFOs now, they're getting ready for the next level of war.
Are these objects a national security concern?
They're proffering a narrative of a national security threat that doesn't exist.
I call them alien reproduction vehicles. They're made by private corporations somewhere on this planet.
Technology from Roswell from 1947 has largely been held back from us.
Portal technology, teleportation, whatever you can imagine, it's already been done.
The biggest secrets are not the zero-point energy and electrogravitics. It's the science of consciousness. All their communication systems are moving through the consciousness field and are thought actuated. The people of the CIA call it WSFM, weird science and frickin' magic. The transdimensional interstellar technology will benefit humanity.
There has been tremendous disinformation.
The media is keeping secrets with the government.
These are lethal, vicious people. And I'm focused on exposing the extraordinary technologies that they want to keep secret. No aspect of life on Earth will be unaffected by it.